This is the Leading Second podcast, where we're on a mission to equip local churches everywhere to raise up uncommon leaders. The Leading Second podcast releases every Thursday morning, so hit follow and share this episode with your team. Now, let's jump into another episode for all of us who lead from the middle. This is the year of the leader. This is the Leading Second podcast. Hello and welcome to the Leading Second podcast. So glad you've made it to this space. If you lead and you're leading from the middle, if you're trying to do your best for your pastor, leading strong, moving the church forward, then this is the space for you. My name is Clark and I'm one of the team members here at Leading Second. I'm glad you found the space and you've tuned in. Before we jump into the interview today, I wanted to let you know we're back for another year of coaching groups. This is meant to serve as the catalyst for team health and organizational momentum, specifically designed for campus pastors, executive pastors, anyone in your church's lead team, so that you can master the art of second chair leadership. Through this interactive and immersive coaching experience, you're going to be put in an environment where you are equipped to walk in your God-given calling and bring excellence to your unique role. You're going to be connected with coaches and other leaders in the same seat as you through this 12 to 24-month coaching journey. Spots are limited, and we'd love for you to apply at leadingsecond.com/coaching-groups. For today's interview, we are honored to welcome Omar El-Takrori back to the podcast to talk about losing your voice to find it. Let's jump into the conversation.
Well, Omar, welcome back to the Leading Second podcast. So glad to have you with us today.
Dude, I am honored to be invited back. And I think this is like round 3 in some way, shape, or form. So I guess I'm part of the fam.
Oh, yeah. Well, I decided that the first time we talked, and my wife like fangirls over your social and stuff. So we just love you. And beyond that, joking aside, we respect who you are as a leader. And I love the house you're a part of. I love your pastor so much. And you are such a brilliant extension of that house in your own way. Tell us a little bit about what you do at City Light Church.
Yeah. So, my name is Omar El-Takrori, and I'm a community pastor at City Light Church with pastors Jabin and Shannon Chavez. Planted in 2018, we celebrated 5 years, February of this year, and we've just seen incredible growth, but not only corporately, but I would say individually. Myself, as a young leader, now being a part of a church plant and doing things for the first time. This was the first congregation I preached to. I didn't preach to a youth group when I was in youth ministry, and I have grown in my communication because of so many things. But yeah, I get the honor to be able to preach about 4 to 6 times a year on the platform on a Sunday. That's not to include in other, capacities, like when we shoot, video courses, when we, do small groups, and when we do leadership nights and things like that. So it's such an honor and a privilege to be in this role and be able to operate in it. But hoping to help a lot of people today who listen or are watching to this, who might find themselves in that position like mine, and how we can, what you said, the goal of the podcast was offline, which was to really extend what the lead pastor is in their heart.
Yeah. And that's what we wanted to do today. We want to have a conversation on communication. It's a leadership topic. We're calling this the year of the leader here on the podcast. And I can't get around talking about communication when we're talking about leadership. Leadership and communication are so intertwined. And when you can sharpen the saw in this regard in your life, if you're given even a meeting to lead, or certainly a Sunday to preach, or anything in between, your sharpness, your ability to communicate well just increases so much of your leadership capacity. So that's why we wanted to have this conversation today. And I'm so glad you're you're willing to do it. We're going to set the topic up here in just a minute. But I also brought along a couple of friends today to help me talk with you, interview with you. Friends of mine who have different role or different churches, I guess, different flow of church. First of all, from my home church is Jesse Rodriguez, one of our location pastors. Say what's up to everybody, Jesse.
Hey, glad to be on today. It's going to be a great discussion. Looking forward to some fun.
Jesse is a great coach on our Leading Second team. He's also part of my church, so I'm proud to get to link arms with him. But, our church is a broadcast church, right, Pastor Jesse? So, I mean, you find yourself leading from the platform, but you're doing it through a non-teaching capacity primarily. Is that kind of how you would describe that?
Absolutely. We are the furthest broadcast location from our broadcast location.
Right.
We're 2.5 hours away. So we are some distance away from the communication where our senior pastor communicates.
That's right. For them to come to Tuesday staff meeting once a month like they do, it's like a mountain range in between, just so everybody knows. So they literally cross a mountain pass to come to staff. Anyway, and they're always on time, by the way, I will note. So there you go. And then Stephanie Blanton from Freedom House Church in Charlotte is with us. Say what's up to everybody, Stephanie.
Hey, everybody. So happy to be here with you today. I am so excited about talking about communication. It's so important. So Can't wait.
And you do like everything at the church. So you have your hands in a million things, but you have your hands in a location, and your church would have teaching pastors at each location. So a bit different flow there.
Yes. So what we do is we rotate campuses. So we have a teaching team that rotates from campus to campus. So that way our pastors are at every campus, at least once a month. So that it works out really well. And the beauty of it is they only have to prepare one message.
Hey, there you go. There you go. We're all about efficiency. Omar could say a few things about that. But the idea behind this is for us to acknowledge, first of all, that every church is different. And many different ways of approaching this are beautiful. So we don't come at this just through the eyes of one method. We just really wanted to have a conversation that acknowledges that our pastors lead us into different places in different seasons, and we're respecters of that. So let me set up this conversation. I want to talk today about losing your voice to find it. And let me kind of this is a little different. Let me set this up. Matthew chapter 10, which is a leadership meeting, mind you, it says in verse 1, he called his disciples to them and gave them authority. So they're leading here. Gave them authority to drive out demons, heal the sick. In verse 39, Jesus is sort of framing in, okay, here's how I need you to lead for me. And he says this line that has forever changed my life. He says, whoever finds their life will lose it, and whoever loses their life for my sake will find it. There is something about the kingdom that you find your life when you lose it. And Omar, I'm just going to come to you right away because I feel like second chair leaders have to find their place in this verse. Like we have to find our home here, that when we serve in the second chair, we're serving, of course, under Christ, but also under our pastors. And we're a part of something a whole lot bigger than ourselves. So, I mean, have you ever found yourself in I had to lose my life to find it moment or season serving in the second chair in your church?
No, 100. I think when you consider the dynamics of your experiences, and then even, let's call it really good things that have happened to you that shape, limiting beliefs, and then bad things that happen to you that shape limiting beliefs. Then you step into new seasons, new territories of leadership, and those limiting beliefs become these equations we, conjure up when we start to lead, when, so many times our limiting beliefs isn't the case, right? There's
right.
So in that, I've had to die to so many, and it's a constant process. I would even say it's not even like a one and done thing. It's like this constant reevaluating. Whoa, I'm still carrying that thing from my last experience in ministry. I'm still approaching this person, or the way I approach Pastor Jabin. And sometimes there's a chip on my shoulder, but it's no, he never asked me to have that chip on my shoulder. So I think there's definitely, and that's a tension to be managed, obviously. But yeah, I mean, definitely, you know, realizing things that aren't going to make way into the future in regards to my leadership. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have desire for a while to want to teach? Did you grow up, wanting to do this, or is this something you kind of have learned or, fell into later on here?
Yeah, no, I love this question because if you don't know much about me or my story, I'm a behind the scenes. That's like where I got my start. I was doing video. I was running the, social media pages at my previous church, and I still find myself behind the scenes. But there was a time where I felt, as I'm like shooting these devotionals, this might have been, I might have been maybe 22 or 23. I felt like I felt the whisper that it was like, you're going to be up there. And I felt it was from God. And I personally I was at a church where you don't tell somebody the desire that you have to preach and teach. You kind of don't say it. And so I just kept it in. I just knew it was probably God who said that. And so that was my shift as far as the way I would now watch communicators and teachers and preachers on Sundays, and how I would watch them on YouTube and stuff. It changed between what I was watching them say and versus now watching them how they said things, and so I would say I almost felt like this like commission, like, hey, you're gonna one day be up there, start preparing. And I think there was that moment where I was like, okay, I'm going to start to become a student of the art form of communication. And so that was kind of when that happened, but I never told nobody. And I think the desire only increased when I started to hear so many voices, and I realized like, oh wow, like I would touch on that. I would have went this direction with that. It would be really helpful, because I'm very introspective. I'm an Enneagram 5. So I'm always doing my research, and I'm making sure that I'm good at what it is that my job is to do. And so I felt like, okay, I think I have a part to play as far as like communicating to church. And I did bring that desire up to my pastor, like early when City Light started. I was like, hey, I'm all in for video. Like you got me heart and soul. And I just want to let you know, I feel like God's given me this desire. And I would say I can't even explain how grateful I am for how Pastor Jabin in this time has stewarded that desire in me, to the point where people are very impressed with, I would say, and I say this humbly, but like impressed with how I communicate, whether it's on video, whether it's on stage. And I have obviously one of the greatest to study, but he's also coached me, like literally coached me. Like there's being pastored and then there's being coached, and dudes, pastors coached me through it. And yes. And so, yeah. And so I say all that to say, I think there's something to say about that preparation stage. And I did find myself even communicate in context like small group on a weekly basis. I found myself communicating with leading team huddles, and something I've learned is that everything communicates. My posture communicates. My attire communicates. My charisma communicates, or lack thereof. That's what I mean. My video setup communicates. Everything communicates.
Right.
And so,
right.
And so it really started this process, I think, of preparation more than anything. But I would say that was kind of like the inception of when I felt that desire come. And yeah. For the record,
you're a great communicator. You're allowed to brag on the podcast. I'm okay with that today. You're a great communicator. But I love where you started us today, in that because we're going to talk about losing your life. We're going to kind of go all in on the house and all that. But I hope what people would hear at the beginning is we're not villainizing gift and calling. And it is kind of a scary thing to bring up, like say, hey, I want to preach or, I want to lead. And sometimes those moments aren't easy to declare yourself. And I'm thankful that you were in an environment that stewarded that. I'd say similarly about myself, but for those that aren't, we're not villainizing the desire to, use your gifting or lead, you know.
100. And like it honestly now because I was that person, I was kind of like shy to share that. I want more people to come out forth and just say it, because we need good communicators. We need people who can communicate effectively.
That's
and
right.
If God's put the desire, then it is, as leaders, it's our role to steward that desire that's God given. And hey, I mean, if it's just seasonally stewardship and maybe they move on or whatever, but I'm just like, we need more good, effective communicators. I love what Erwin McManus says. He says, in the past, he used to say the future belongs to creatives. And with so much going on, with so many opinions, with social media, everybody's hopping on, everybody's a thought leader. The future belongs to great communicators.
That's right. That's right.
And so I think this is a art form, skill set, you know, and even calling even more so,
Right.
That yes, I think leaders, we need to steward better.
Man, don't even get me started on the everybody has a platform and a voice thing right now. It is driving me bananas. I mean, you know, I'm all here for free speech, but my goodness, you know, the challenge for me right now is, yeah, anyone can turn on a video and hook up a mic and say something. You have no idea the condition of their life, though. You have no idea. We're actually taught to judge prophets as true and false, you know, by the fruit of their lives. And anyways, I won't get us off on that rabbit trail today, but that is a big bother of mine. Okay, I'm going to open floor. Jesse, Stephanie, either of you want to fire away?
I guess, you know, how did you develop your gift of communication? You know, I know that you talked about coaching. I think it's such an important topic because, you know, if you're just given the opportunity to preach, but you're not given the tools or the resources to develop the communication, sometimes you're kind of lost in that development. So talk about that a little bit.
So good. Yeah, I would say pre me being ordained and, you know, getting a microphone, my love for scripture started by being discipled by this guy named Daniel Fernandez. He was like my youth pastor, young adult pastor. And he really took 6 weeks to walk me through biblical interpretation. And I wasn't even communicating at that point. I was just hungry for God's word. And it was the passion for God's word that I feel like was obviously the foundation of all this. And then when it came time, you know, years fast forward and Pastor Jabin gives me a weekend and I'm like, dude, the first time I'm preaching is going to be on a Sunday to adults. Like, who the heck am I, you know? And I think on a practical level, you know, number one would be the framework, right? The framework for a sermon, which our church, you know, as far as how Pastor Jabin has outlined it, and this goes a little bit, you know, toward like the dying to the thing to myself, you know, in order to find my voice, was that's the framework. You know, we write 3-point sermons. We get right. There's all these things that he would tell me. We get right into it. You know, we don't start with these elongated stories. We preach under 35 minutes. It's helpful for Monday. We're speaking to that individual. We're speaking to that father of 40 years old, you know, that doesn't lead his family. All these nuanced insights that we would have over meetings. And then obviously the feedback part, which sometimes feels like correction because it's uncomfortable. You're like, man, I just preached God's word. I'm on a high right now. And then it's like, hey, let's talk about the way you shared that story was very off-putting. It's like, oh, you know, like that definitely would have made people kind of put a wall in between you and them by the tone, by the way you said that. And it's not, and Pastor Jabin's always big on like, I know what you're saying. I know you, but you have to realize not everyone knows us. So these tools and these practical things would come in the relationship that I had with Pastor Jabin, going back and forth, going over sermons and then the preparation part. But one cool thing I think even, you know, Pastor packaged his preaching knowledge into like a masterclass course and it was like 2.5 hours. And I would say he did that to multiply what we were doing on a one-on-one basis.
Wow. That's
yeah.
Brilliant. That's brilliant.
I mean,
that'd be worth the whole podcast right there.
Take Pastor Jabin Chavez's preaching masterclass.
Well, yeah. And then also just the idea that we could you could talk about this for a quick second if you want, but just we underutilize video greatly in terms of training and preparing those around us.
Right. I always say, like, especially for churches, to use video to streamline systems and also not have to repeat yourself with every meeting. So, what's so cool is, like, there's an understanding that I've gone through this masterclass course also, and so I understand I don't need to touch on topics that I don't need to touch on. So I understand that I don't need to try to be somebody I'm not. I understand that I need my three voices that I am attracted to, that I pull from. I understand these things that, like, just this even like, I think it's just the idea of, like, what is it? Most leaders, like even lead pastors, they think about it. It's not really just put on paper, or it's not put on a system. And I would say system only increases the speed and also the ability to get more people involved in things, because now it can. It could filter through people as people go through that, and yeah. So definitely there's a power tip for all those listening and watching.
It's funny, Omar, when you were saying what you were saying, because even for my role and my position in my church is I'm a campus pastor, location pastor, whatever verbiage you want to use. And we on occasion get a chance to communicate. And even when you said that with Pastor Jabin, it's 3 points, you're going to have that same ebb and flow with it as well, too. Like, I haven't even taken it upon myself from how the document is created from my senior pastor. My documents can be created the same, just in a way to continue to keep that heart in the right posture. Even though it's a different communicator, we still want to have the same heart for the house. So you said some practical things that Pastor Jabin has it from 3 points, how you get into it. What else would you say, if it's not even just communicating a message, but if it's doing a welcome from a closing, what can you do as a communicator to go, you want to be your own personal voice? It's a different voice than your senior pastor, but how do you continue to fight for the house, the direction, what we're trying to do?
Good.
What are some practical things that you can do if it's communicating a message, like in your position, or if it's even just doing a welcome and a close? How can we continue with our personal senior pastors to continue to make sure that we're using our voice, but always fighting for the same direction of the house?
100. I love that. I think definitely just on a practical level, one thing I do when I don't preach, which is 95% of the time, is I sit through multiple services. I receive, as Omar, I need to receive from my pastor one service. The next service is I'm studying you. I write down these things. I would say most of my sermons include a Jabin Chavez quote. Like, as pastor says this all the time about faith. Faith is spelled RISK. Like, I have these isms from pastor that allow me to amplify those things. Like, these are just little things that are powerful, and it also it lifts the burden off me, because I don't always have to come up with these isms, I guess you could say, because I'm only preaching a few times a year. So the more I can amplify, the better. In the context of emceeing, I love that you bring this down, because I would share the story of, like, there was a time where, we do these welcomes, right? We welcome the first time guests. Hey, if you aren't a first time guest and you're looking to get more connected, come take this journey on with, and your next step is to take next steps, and what next steps is. And we have, like, there's a script to it. And then on the same token, when we end service, there's essentially this, like, format to it on how we, end service. And I in the beginning, I would take these liberties, just to be funny. Omar, be your dry humor self, which nobody understands ever. So it's actually cringe and awkward. But then I would get hit with the text. Hey, just stick to the script. Hey, just make sure that you're just going based, what the planning center says. So having those moments is definitely it. And I mean, in my dynamic, it was almost being trusted with that season first. Like, hey, can you stick to the script? Can you stay under 35 minutes? Can you just preach, like, clear, like, before you get all whatever, And I would say the trust has been built and also extended, right? So in that format, I think it's just, hey, if you get asked to do something, just do it like clockwork.
That's so good.
for a while. And
Yes.
I think you'll feel it. I think you'll know when it's like, oh, I actually have something here that will actually help this announcement. I actually have this story that I heard at a coffee shop, and it makes sense for me to share because now I have this like, it's almost like I think when I watch American Idol, I just revealed myself and I just got total judgment. But there's this judge.
I haven't watched it since 2004.
Well, they're in their 21st season, and you're missing out. No, I'm just kidding. But sometimes they would judge a singer based on their ability to know that they can do everything, but you can feel that they're honing it in, right? And that's actually more professional than showing all your things and being, and just throwing it all out there. I think in the same way, it's like, what are you asked to do? Can you just do that? That would be the easiest way to amplify, extend what the pastor's heart is.
Well, don't you think we need to play the long game here, not the short game?
Right.
You can't be given one announcement, and you feel like you got a riff and throw scripture in there and, have an altar call, and it's like your one shot versus, to me, the communicators that show over time, there's still more in the tank. There's still more in the tank. There's still I just respect those leaders so much because they could have, your pastor, or maybe even you said it one time on our podcast, that meekness is power under control. Is that correct?
Right.
Power under control, or strength
I said it,
under
but it's
control.
in the Bible.
Well, yes, but I mean,
okay, yeah, but I just wanted to make sure.
but just the idea that it's meekness, like it's to approach your work like that, and wise. I want to talk for just a minute about platform hosting, though. I feel like all the attention goes to sermon prepping, and we all do like one a year, or Omar's really ahead and does like 4 a year, but how many times are we up there? We're hosting service. We're welcoming guests for the 1,000th time. We're doing the offering, the transitions, whatever. But let's, to me, I always think to the guest that's in here today, that welcome is not the 1,000th time, it's the first time. And
right.
I think service hosting doesn't get near the airtime that it needs in terms of development, in terms of its importance. I view it as right up there with the message, that you are setting the table, you are creating the environment for the word to go forward. I just love to hear your thoughts on that, because I feel like that is an aspect that is so important in terms of hospitality and gets very little airtime in terms of its...
I mean, if you reverse engineer the intention behind portions of the service, like you said, that moment is a lot for first-time guests, right? Like people who are there for the first time. And what's funny is that because it's something we do every week, the tone could be almost like, let's just get through this part.
Right.
And what's so funny is, when I would do it and I would, lock it in and we do it every weekend, you'd still be surprised that people still don't know what next steps is. And then they're like, yeah, I've been coming for like 6 months. And that's not your fault. We say it every Sunday, but what's that stat? Like, most people come to church like once a month too, so people aren't even really, it's so repetitive to us, the people on the team, the people saying it over and over, but it is not repetitive to them. They need the reminder. You're serving them by giving it to them almost like they are hearing it for the first time, which the people who are hearing that moment, welcome to church. If you're a guest with us, we have a gift for you. And that's just our way of celebrating you for being here. We're so honored that you would take time out of your Sunday and spend it here at City Light Church. So we want to just please, after service, meet us at the tent. Our team will be there waiting for you. We just want to say hello, shake your hand, and we're just glad. One more time, church. Let's give it up. It's embedded in me. But like, I know. I'm that excited for people who are checking us out. Like it's so powerful that we had the opportunity to see new people. But yeah, I mean, I kind of probably went tangent on your, because I forgot the question, but I think you have to remind yourself that they're meeting you for the first time, that they probably weren't even paying attention last time. They maybe were late walking in, who knows, but hey, we're just going to lock in. And then speaking to kind of what I talked about a bit ago about like sticking to the script, one thing that like I definitively remember was even there was a moment where I went to stick to the script in regards to the prayer part where we go back into worship. And I remember Pastor Jabin texting me like, hey, minister, take your time there. Like, go, like feel, like pray over the needs that you like. And I was like, whoa, okay. Like that was like a step
That's
in
different.
that quote unquote direction. Right. And so, I think the dynamic in all of that is, I think understanding what the job is and doing it like it is the first time and realizing, say it to the person. It's so important. Part of, I'm in 16 Laws of Communication with John Maxwell, but knowing the audience in which you're talking to, and when you're up there, depending on what you are talking about, you are speaking to a specific audience, even in those moments. And so, all that to say, I think.
Let's go back to kind of the central idea of the conversation today. And that is this idea, when do you find your life? When do you lose your life? So this is my question to you. When should a leader focus on being unique, and when should they make it a priority to sound like their pastor? Like, where's the line there between those two things?
I think part of the line is that's loaded, and I think it's very relationally based, because I believe if you've been asked to preach on a Sunday, yes, there are those guardrails, but then there's also this extended trust. Like, you've been asked to preach on Sunday. Your life has probably, been an exemplary life to even be in a position to be asked, the way you are seen by your pastor. And so there's so many, I would say, you could say like, go get 'em vibes when it comes to like, hey, you're preaching this Sunday. But at the same time, understanding and getting clear on those, like, where do I not go, rails off. So I think the way I do that is honestly going back to kind of like the structure and framework. The structure of my sermon is very similar to what you will get on any given Sunday that pastor's preaching, which makes an easy connection. The dynamic that I now get to bring is my dynamic, my experiences, my daughter and wife, my friendship, my business, and these are and then it's also like my propensities and my own, the things that I feel, that maybe pastor hasn't really touched on. I love preaching on like, fearing the Lord and obedience. And I feel like I can do that because I'm Pastor Omar, like people off stage, we have coffee dates, and I'm encouraging people in the Lord and wanting to live out the call of God on their life. And so when I'm up there and I'm saying it from to the entire church body, there's a way you do that. And I think a lot of those times it just comes with like running it through Pastor Jabin. And I keep going back to frameworks. Like, I remember, one of his things he told me was, hey, sometimes you say something and you think they know what you're saying. And then he gave me a framework even right there. He was like, state, illustrate, apply. So he's like, you have these great one-liners, but you say them and then you move on. And it's like, whoa, wait, what did you just mean by that? State, illustrate, apply. And like, and then now that he's told me that, now when I'm hearing him preach on a Sunday, that's now being illuminated. I'm like, oh, he did it there. Oh, he did it again. And so I really go back to like the framework side of it. And that's what I've probably died to. I used to look at Judah, when I wasn't preaching. I'm like, man, if I could just like hold the mic like this guy, the way he like holds the mic, I don't know. It's just, and the way he moves on the stage, I'm like, what I want to make people feel how he makes people feel. But then on the same side, I love Chris Hodges is my online pastor. Like, that's the guy, he doesn't have to move and he moves you, and even just that side, like, there's this desire in me to want to please a Christian who loves preaching. But then there's like, can you help your church for Monday? And so I've become a headset guy, and it's become really good. But I've had the option to like try different things in that regard. And this is very practical, but like I found that, Omar, you're a teacher. You take these complex things, you make them simple for the church. That's your goal isn't to make things that are complex, more deep and complex. Your role is to take deep concepts, deep things that people think about, and really simplify them so that they can apply it. The pressure's off at that point, you know?
Yeah. I think one thing I felt like I heard you saying just a minute ago, I'll just add my words into it, but what I felt like I heard you saying was maybe let your pastor define what the win looks like. You know, that it's, you know, let them, if it is to be you and to share your heart and your uniqueness, do that. But if it's not, if there is a different target to hit, you know, let them set that target. I guess I'm thinking of that because of my own world. And I find myself in different churches throughout the year. And I've really had to learn that, first of all, on any platform, any of us in the second chair are a guest. And I could come with my agenda, or I could seek to accomplish what's on their heart, you know, and let them set the target for the day. I have found that to be more effective.
Right. And on a practical level, like February, I preached a very prophetic message in the sense of something I felt for our church, or like in underneath the theme of the year. And it was awesome. It came out of a personal devotion time and stuff like that. This next round I'm preaching in a couple of weeks, we're starting the book of James, and Pastor Jabin's kicking it off in week 1. And he gave me the borders. He's like, I need you to preach faith without works is dead. It's, you know, you're in chapter 2. And now that's now the constraint, or the playground that I have. Right. And so, yes, defining that. And if that is not defined, I would encourage you, communicator, to seek that, because you hoping for like always this manna, crazy, awesome revelation that like I love the parameters. Like, dude, give me the playground so I can, you know, lock in. And yeah, so I think that would be one way to really define it. It's different oftentimes. Sometimes you're in a series, sometimes you're kicking off the series, sometimes it just ended, and now it's time. It got very heady, and it's time to build the faith of the church. And you know, so yeah, that was a good insight.
Yeah, what I heard in all of that was a lot of humility and a lot of honor. And you know, as we know, as communicators, the platform's a privilege. It's not a place to promote ourselves.
That's right.
It's not a place to, you know, build a name or build a brand or anything like that. It's a call, number one. And obviously, you know, you experience that call. But it's also our pastors, you know, putting their stamp of approval on us and giving us that platform and trusting us with it. And I think that's how, you know, you continue to have the voice of the pastor, is by honoring the pastor and honoring the seat that you've been called to, and being humble and making sure that you're not, you know, becoming prideful because you did a great message. You know what I'm saying? I think it's one thing to know what you can improve. It's another thing to puff yourself up. And I just hear humility and I hear honor when they say stay in the guardrails. You do that. You stay in the guardrails. When he said, hey, you know, take some more time in this moment, then you moved in that, and you're free to do that. So I just think it's so important that we are honoring the seat that we've been given, because if we don't, you know, God can easily remove us.
I got a question for you, Omar. So, and it could go a lot of different ways here. So, of course, we're talking about communication. In your thought, in your process, what becomes the win on a weekend when you communicate? So, like, for example, you said start sharing about the book of James. Is the win going when you get off platform? People are like, man, you did a really great job, man. You should be preaching more often. Is that the win? Or is the win going
always?
Yeah. Or do I want to dive into the book of James? Or is it something overall? Because I think sometimes the target is different depending on what the goal is. So for you personally at City Light, you just talked about, you preached a couple of weeks ago, you're about to preach again. What would be the big win for you? Is it the response you get from your pastor? Did you get people who are not connected in the church to get connected to the church? What would be on the win on a weekend when you get platform time to preach, to be the welcome closing? What's the win for you in your mind?
Yeah, I would say the win is when people start asking you, when are you going to start your own church? Just so awkward. Like, why are you so shallow as far as how you connect what leading a church is? And sorry. That's what came in my mind, because I'm like, dude, what are you asking me right now? Get behind me, Satan.
It's so funny.
But No, I honestly, something I've learned is that people are always going to say you did a good job. Uh, I think there's two ways I look at it. I have to be okay with my performance. You're right. Like I have to get off stage and say, I was prepared. I delivered that like, dude, God met me like I let the Holy Spirit go. Like I have to get off stage. It's something I learned from Chad Veach has his like 21 rules of communication. He's like, dude, if you get off stage, because everyone's going to congratulate or thank or, whatever. But like, if you're not happy with your performance, then you need to go back to the weight room, bro. So that's one part. One way I look at it on my side of things, as far as my ability to want to be better. Obviously, how pastor responds to it. It's crazy because I would say the last time I was able to preach, he's like, Omar, like literally A1, like I have nothing to say. And that like bursted my heart. Like I was like, oh my gosh, I did it. Like super, he affirmed me. Healed my father wound. No, I'm just kidding. But like, now like 40 minutes in, Omar gets like Omar, but that what's crazy about that is I wouldn't have necessarily say that was my favorite, but for whatever the reasons, I think because I maybe like just went through all that we talked through and I implemented it and I took his ideas and I added them in and I think it honored him. And in response, he said, dude, A1, I would say on the congregation standpoint of things, dude, when I start seeing people do the thing on Monday, and I never say like, hey, post this or whatever, but when I see them do it, like in December, I preached on like, how to get started reading the Bible and why you needed to make it, why it's important. It's the first time people are, they hear all these statistics and facts and all this stuff. But I was like, dude, you know what I do, guys? I turn on this guy. His name's William Augusto. It's like piano music. And it just sets the environment. And then I go into Proverbs of the day, just make like, I went back to back to what I was mentioning earlier. Like just when I realized that it clicked and it provokes action on Monday, for me, that is the win for the congregation. Cause that's like, I don't have to preach anymore. Like I gave you the tool. I gave you the Holy Spirit convicted you to the point of action. And now you're being obedient by just doing the thing that you learned yesterday. I used to love the notes, like when people showed me their notes or when they shared the notes on Sunday. And I think that's really cool. It's like people are transferring what you have on your iPad onto their like notes. But then at some point I'm like, dude, people can take notes all day, but if they're not doing what, if it's not applicable for Monday. So that would be the greatest probably win that I'm looking for, is like, is there something in my sermon that really makes this, stay-at-home mom able to apply this, or this busy, dad able to apply this, whether that's join a group, whether that's, start taking 10 minutes to pray in the morning, whatever that little thing that we can do to get people onto that next step of their devotion. That blesses my heart for real.
So good. Let me land this conversation for today. I could talk to you for a long time about this. I we just need to keep having you back. You are family now, by the way. Talk about trust as we end today. How important is it to build and maintain trust with your pastor? Because trust is gained over time. It's lost in moments.
Right.
Sadly, just how important has the concept of trust been between you and your pastor in this space?
Oh man, I mean, I would say it's everything when it comes to this side of things, because there's not too many people that grab a microphone, even where we're at, right? Like, I'm emceeing mostly every weekend. When there's a guest speaker, I'm getting the church ready. But I would say there are two ways to do trust. And I think about Craig Rochelle and how he talks about you can either extend it or you can have somebody earn it. In my case, it's been a hybrid, right? It's been the consistency of me leading groups semester after semester and seeing something grow that I put my hand to and seeing the consistency probably in my character and showing up, and then C19 and Omar's still here, and now he's started a new video department to let people because we have to stream now, and I think it was a lot of that communicated to Pastor Jabin that like more than my finances and investment, more than the time, it was like really he felt heart and soul. And I think that was kind of like on a relational level, that was like, okay, we're unstoppable at this point if all is well, and so because we had the previous relationship, he was my youth pastor. Before it planted, we went on trips and talked about City Light and how groups would look and this, that, and the other. There was that relational side of things, but obviously the platform is still different, in as far as releasing people in that. So I think that came with the hybrid of him extending trust and saying, I trust that desire that God's given you, you're a man of God. And if that is a desire God's given you, I'm going to trust you. And and then at that point, it would be my job to now him have to revoke it or pull back trust, right? Like it's on me. So I think it's the hybrid of the two. And I've experienced that. And in every season, it's still that, right? Now we're really in like the hiring phase, and I've been entrusted with like looking through some of these resumes and talking like, what are my thoughts on, these people? And that wasn't the case always. Right. And so, it's time, it's released. I think it's in certain cases, it's probably deciphered in that way, but, dude, I think, I don't know how you could build without it. I don't know how you can let somebody go without it.
It's beautiful. And, the reason I ask it is just because I think sometimes there are leaders looking for opportunity. They're looking to get picked. They're looking for what's next. And I think we overlook that fact, that it's not just about being the most talented in the room. Some of us who have been picked certainly are not. Right. It's not about, sometimes it's just about having a bank of trust with your pastor that's so real and so deep and unshakable that, and sometimes that's the factor that'll move you right into the opportunity you're actually looking for. So, Omar, we love you. Thank you for who you are. Thank you for how you represent the house. Thank you for some wisdom today. We're really grateful for you.
Man, I'm so honored. Literally anytime we can go, if you stay in this communication loop, maybe at some point later on, or if we start going, I'm just in. I'm in. The answer is yes.
I'm calling it now. Omar's communication masterclass is coming soon. Like
okay.
That's what we're gonna do. That's what we're gonna do. Thanks, my friend. Love you.
To find the episode guide, visit our website, leadingsecond.com/podcast. You can also follow us on Instagram @leadingsecond and join us on the Leading Second Collective on Facebook.